way down over his ears. Some hair is
Following
going
day,
to show.
December 8th, he was sentenced.
In the year 1976, 46 years ago, Virgil Presnell was sentenced to death for the murder. This is the Death Row and Executions channel. I'm Paco Rivera. Richard Stephen Fairchild was born on November 17th, 1959. He is scheduled to be executed on November 17th of this year, on Richard Fairchild's 63rd birthday. There will actually be two executions on that day: Richard Fairchild in Oklahoma and 57-year-old Kenneth Eugene Smith in the state of Alabama for the 1988 murder-for-hire killing of a pastor's wife. Smith was one of two men, each paid $1,000, to kill a woman on behalf of her husband, the pastor. The pastor later killed himself. There will also be a video about that in the coming days. For now, back to Richard Fairchild. So, guess what? Anti-death penalty advocates are saying that Richard Fairchild should not be executed because he suffers from severe mental illness. That's a new one, isn't it? Anyway, those advocates are also saying that Fairchild sustained a brain injury as an amateur boxer at a young age, resulting in bouts of schizophrenia, according to at least one neuropsychologist that treated him. But Richard Fairchild also had a brief career in the military as a young man. Was the military back then in the habit of accepting persons suffering from schizophrenia? Because I'm pretty sure that they screened for all that. 3-year-old Adam Broomhall, who weighed only 24 pounds, died of brain damage that was caused when he was thrown against the vertical folded down panel of a drop leaf table and then had his head crushed when it hit a concrete floor. Fairchild was the boy's mother's live-in boyfriend. That same night, Richard Fairchild had pressed the child up against a heating furnace in the home, causing severe burns to the child's body. The injuries to Adam occurred sometime after midnight Saturday, November 13th, 1993, during what is now officially Sunday the 14th of November. 29 years ago, while Adam's mother, Stacy Broomhall, was asleep in her bedroom. Adam died later that morning. Richard Fairchild had been living with Stacy and her 3 children in Midwest City, Oklahoma, a town right beside Del City. Richard Fairchild was convicted and sentenced to death 3 years later in 1996, so he's been on death row now for 26 years. The boy's mother, Stacy Broomhall, pled guilty to allowing the abuse of her son and received a 5-year sentence. She testified against Fairchild at trial, saying that they had been drinking heavily throughout that Saturday and that she had passed out on the bed while Fairchild abused Adam sometime in the middle of the night, causing his death. Stacy later said that earlier that day they had gone to her mother's house in Oklahoma City. The children watched TV and ate snacks in one room, while the adults watched TV and drank beer in another room. When Stacy and Richard Fairchild were ready to leave, Stacy's mother had said that they were both too drunk to drive and got her 17-year-old daughter to drive them home in their car. Stacy Broomhall's 17-year-old sister had often gone to the house to babysit the children and was planning to stay with them that night, but she told the court that she had stopped going there because of Richard Fairchild making sexual advances toward her several times, including the night that she drove them back home. After arriving at the home, she helped put the kids to bed and then called for a cab to take her back to Oklahoma City. That was about 10:30 that evening. Several hours later, little Adam woke up and he was crying. That's when the abuse began. After striking Adam several times, burning him with the furnace, and throwing him against the table and his head hitting the floor, Adam stopped crying because he was now unconscious. Richard Fairchild, realizing that the child wasn't moving, there's something wrong with him, woke up the mother, Stacy, who called 911. Medics and police arrived, and Fairchild was arrested. At first, Richard Fairchild had said that the boy was running around the house and accidentally banged himself against the table and the floor. Adam was pronounced dead at Oklahoma City Children's Hospital later that morning. Court records indicate that Fairchild later admitted hitting the child and holding his body against the furnace because the boy had wet himself and the bed, and he wouldn't stop crying. In a direct quote from the transcripts, he had said, quote, "The more he screamed, the more I just kept on hitting him," unquote. Fairchild's lawyers tried to present a case that included him being severely intoxicated at the time of Adam's death, but that was thrown out. There's no law in Oklahoma saying that if you are drunk, that's a reasonable excuse for committing murder. This past October the 12th, the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board voted 4-1 against recommending clemency to the governor for Richard Fairchild. Fairchild did not appear before the parole board, according to his lawyers, because he is unable to speak in his current mentally disabled condition. If you would like to see more of these death row stories, please subscribe so that you are alerted when the next one comes out. I'm Paco Rivera. Bye for now.